Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to EML. It is qualifying night for season number 5 as we take in, of course, Lobby 1 from the Abu Dhabi circuit. I thought it was the Spanish Grand Prix. Anyways, it is Abu Dhabi. My name is James Head. As you can tell, I'm going to be taking you to the stream as your lead commentator once again this season for Esports Masters League. And joining me in the comment box, the first of 2 special guests that I've got in the comment box tonight, my regular partner in crime. It is Mr. IRT Indigo, otherwise known as Jamie Morris. Jamie, how you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, James. I'm very excited for the season. Obviously, it's qualified for 4 sessions, so we're very interested to see which teams will qualify. But yeah, around Abu Dhabi and Spain, because I believe session 3 we're doing together is Spain. So the first one's Abu Dhabi, and the third one is Spain. You're doing session 2 with Scotty, I think.
I am indeed. I'm actually doing, I need to check the schedule to confirm that, but I believe we are going to be doing 2 lobbies here tonight each. So Scott Dodds, who is going to be F2 co-commentator, he's going to be joining me alongside, I think, for session 2 and session 3, if I'm not mistaken, and then you're back in for session 4, or might be vice versa. I don't know. I haven't really checked properly, but anyways, we will get, of course, into the lobby very soon indeed. Let's have a look then at the teams that are going to take place. This is a very old graphic, by the way. There are quite a few teams that have pulled out, Parnell Racing being the one that has, I think, pulled out very, very late on in the day. One of the favourites, I think, coming into this season. However, in Lobby 1, of course, we have got 11 teams taking part here for tonight, and it's going to be very interesting to see, of course, how our drivers get on out on track. And I'm just trying to find who is in what lobby for session number 1. So for WSC Esports, we have got Hugo. I'm just going to pronounce his name as Hugo in for session 1. They've got Vassaz in for session 3. Then it is Rodaz in for WR Esports with Hein Heider in for session 3. Rodaz in, of course, for session 1. Leroy in along with Antonio for International Racing Team there in session 1 and session 3 respectively. Gabriel in for session 1 and then Marlon in for session 3. ET8 have got Sergio, was meant to be Sergio with Brandox, I believe, in the lobby that we're currently in lobby 1, and then Mateo taking part for ET8, pretty much the same lineup as we had last night in Legacy Division for ET8 as well, which picked up the podium in 3rd position. Tedo in for Legacy Pitlane Esports alongside Michele. He's going to be joining in for session 3. Jensen in for session 1 along with Tom. Very consistent lineup for Team Jizu. One of the favourites, I think, to qualify here tonight for F1, I should say. Killer NL in for CPI Esports along with Eagle. They're going to be in for session 1 and session 3 respectively. Juventus Racing have got Francesco Largo representing them in session 1, and then Neil's in for session 3. And then, as I mentioned, Brandox, they're replacing Sergio. Jakku in for X Esports along with Sabi. Sabi's going to be coming in for session 3. I will run through who's going to be in what lobby. Don't worry, it might be confusing how I'm saying that. And Jordan in for DGT. And alongside Benjamin in for session 3 as well. I think the same lineup as they had for Legacy Division qualifiers as well. But Jamie, of course, we have got on-track action more immediate, and the first lap times are being set now. Jensen out on top, Killer NL there in second, but already seen 121.8, which is going to set the bar quite high tonight.
Yeah, credible lap times from the top 2 already to be in the 21s at this stage, early doors in qualifying. And earlier on, Jordan did invalidate his lap time, I believe, at turn number 1. I think took too much curb or went a bit wide, so that's his lap time done before he even got started. But Francesco Larga has got quickest now with a 21.7 ahead of Jensen as well with a 21.8 as Brandon puts the Alpine into P4 with Tito in P5. Quite 5,000 separates those two, so quite close around here. It's 5.2 kilometer circuit as well, so interesting lap times coming in. The first driver that came out of the pit lane was Leroy, so I was on board with him. Looks like it was a smooth lap, got it all hooked up, but there's still plenty of time to find as Gabriel goes into P2 in the Red Bull with a 21.7, quite close, only 700ths away from Francesco Largo already.
Yeah, definitely. So Gabriel has been showing very good form, I've got to say, in PSGL, PSF2. Of course, he's been behind, I think he's behind Erpek in the championship standings, if I'm not mistaken. So Gabriel doing a fantastic job, being very consistent there in PSGL. So obviously trying to rectify his form and come alive here tonight for qualifying now for NLR. They look potentially as one of the favourites. They did qualify, of course, for Premier 1 last season as well. And on the foot soldier, I think, of the teams, we've got the JR team, obviously, in with Francesco Largo currently topping the session. JR, of course, took part in EML Premier 1 last season as well. Very, very consistent team on PlayStation. Looking forward, honestly, to seeing how every single team gets on, no matter what your affiliation is. I said this on Legacy Division last night as well. Whatever your affiliation is, just be proud of the performances that these drivers are going to put in qualifying night. Of course, 20 teams mean every single team, unless they pull out or unless they merge like PSO and Talent Factory did, will get a spot in either F1 or F2. Academy details will follow shortly. There are not enough teams currently to run Academy at this stage, but F1 and F2 guaranteed. Top 10 teams, of course, in terms of their lap times will be set in Premier 1, in F1, and then in F2, of course, the bottom 10 teams out of qualifying night will participate in F2. So, sandbagging here tonight, Jamie, is not an option.
Yeah, it isn't. We're going to see all the drivers' true potential pace then around here, and 5.2 kilometer circuit around Abu Dhabi can be quite tricky, especially in that third sector as well. But majority of drivers then are heading back in the pit lane, and we've got McLaren for CPI out there, also set at 21.9, just on the verge of getting in too. So let's see if he can improve that lap time in the McLaren as well. And when you said TF pulled out, well, with TF, it's got some really great drivers, and I've witnessed them racing as well in different categories, and they've got some really strong drivers and fast ones as well. So it's a shame we're not going to see them tonight in any of the races. But which other team did you say that pulled out?
Partner Racing as well pulled out very late on. I think it was this morning that they informed that they were pulling out of EML qualifying here tonight. Unfortunate, because Partner Racing, I think, did qualify, of course, for Legacy Division, have been very consistent in team events. They've really undergone that really good process, of course, affiliated with Red Bull Racing Esports as well. Very, very good to witness, of course. Parnell would have been nice to have them here. Of course, no grudges held against the teams. If they want to pull out, they can do. It is up to them if they want to try and field the team, of course, for qualifying here tonight, and indeed for the 10 races that we've got this season. But with Parnell and Talent Factory gone, it actually opens up the doors to the much smaller teams, like your G Leagues, for example, to really try and set the ball running. CPI potentially could get a top 10 spot as well, as, speaking of it, CPI, Killer now on the run toward the left-hander of turn number 1, and then through the left-hander of turn number 2, and we'll see what the Dutch outfit can do in terms of their lap times here for CPI. Should be around a 16.4 in the first sector. Actually, well off, 17.2. I don't know what I've been on in terms of a 16.4 in the first sector, but Killer looking very consistent through the first sector. 17.2 pretty much dead on, and he's also improving in the first sector, which is very, very good indeed. Ron there saying in the chat, can we talk about FRL Esports closed down? They were due to participate in EML, did FRL Esports, of course, the home of Kazizzle once upon a time as well, and I remember back in the 24 Hours event, and he ran under the Humble squad. I've got to say, they'll be good at making, maybe a big miss here in EML, but they're going to be making giant strides, I am sure, in whatever team they are going to go to next, and we wish them well, of course, in their future endeavours as Killer now comes through that middle sector. Purple again in the middle sector, so he's looking good on this lap, but he's probably not as quick as the front two.
Nah, it says a few hundreds up, so it might stay in the 29s, 21.9s, depending if you can find more time in this last sector as he comes out there in fourth gear. Then heading through the penultimate corner, which has been rearranged as well from the previous games or previous tracks we've had. Coming into the final corner then, let's see what Killer can do. A bit scribbling in the exit there. It's a 21.8, so we found a bit more time in that last sector, as well as in the Alfa Romeo goes to P5 with a 22.1 then. And yeah, great lap time for McKinley to try and find some time in that last sector. So he's definitely got a lot to improve as well, because Cena went slightly wide coming out of some braking zones there. So he's got a lot to improve. And let's see if he could do it then with other people out there on their flying laps and currently on their out laps as well. I'm not quite sure who's on one at the moment. I think Brandon's on one. Somebody just moved a position there. They just crossed the line. I think that was a Alpine of IRT Leroy who goes into P6 with a 22.1 then just outside the 21s as you want to be daily in. But Brandon then in the other Alpine is coming towards the end of the middle sector. Then into turn 9 we go. He's 1/10 up in this middle sector then as he carries the speed through fifth gear. Quite easy to spin the car as well through this part of the track, especially if you're in the heavy fuel as well on all the tyres. We're coming towards this right-hander then. Let's see how he takes it very nice in third gear through there. Into fourth, upshifting, use the curb on the entry and exit as well. Very smooth through there. It's easy to lose the car to that part of the track as well. As we're coming towards the penultimate corner, very nice and flat out. Coming to this final corner to go, hit the apex, get back on the throttle immediately, then using all the track he can get away with. It's a 21.9, and Brandon there goes into P6.
Yeah, very good lap time actually from Brandox. Of course, ETA were cooking last night in Legacy Division with Mateo's podium, of course. Looking forward to see how he gets on, of course, here in EML qualifying a little bit later on. Also on a lap time was Jordan. He's came into the pit lane for TGT, so he's there down in 11th position in the Mercedes. Every team, by the way, has been given their own car. So the teams that you're seeing out on track, including Francesco Largo, who's in the AlphaTauri for Juventus, every team has been given a car for this event. I'll run through them from Lobby 2 onwards in terms of that. As Francesco Largo through Car Killer Corner at turn number 3 invalidates and rides too much on the curb. 2400 up that would have been in the first sector as well. And a 17.2 pretty much setting the standard there through that first sector as well. But it's 7 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock to go. Francesco Largo leading the way for Juventus from Gabriel there in second. Killer, the NL there in third. Jensen there in fourth. He's now on a lap time actually for Jizu. And he's 6800 up coming through the middle sector. So the Aston Martin now comes through the left-hander of turn number 9 with the Marina there on the right-hand side. The Yas Marina, of course, there on the right-hand side. Not with the fake water like Miami had, of course, in 2022. But Jensen now coming through the left-hander at turn 13. Underneath the grandstand at 14, and he runs wide. Track limits, of course, in invalidations here. And in context, gonna be really tricky around this track in Abu Dhabi. Jensen's just found that out coming under the grandstand at turn 14. And he's back in the pit lane. 21.8, though. I think he needs to be slightly quicker than that if Team Taju really want to get into F1 this season.
Yeah, indeed, and we're coming to... Oh, Gabriel's almost lost it through there, where Nicholas Latifi crashed back in 2021, and he's backed out of it as well. He knows he's lost the time, and he's only fueled the car for one lap as well, so that's him back in the pit lane. So Francesca, Gabriel, and Jensen then all suffering with their different problems there. Francesca took to his curb in the third corner. He rode the curb a bit too much and resulted in a validation then. So one driver hasn't set a lap time yet. That is Jordan down there in P11, who's currently on his out lap, so would dearly love to get a time on the board. His first lap was invalidated, and his second lap, I'm not quite sure what happened to him. So yeah, 5 minutes left to go in this qualifier session. He's still got some time to put a lap time on the board. Jacko there in the Aston Martin there, coming through the double left-hander, up just to 5th gear. Let's see what he can do with that there. It's a 22.3, so he wants to get himself closer to all the 22s or the 21s then as he heads around the final corner. Let's see what lap time he can set. It's a 22.0 then, so found 2/10 in the middle in the last sector there and pops his Aston Martin into P7. They're very close to the 21s for Jacko. But let's see if it can improve then. Yeah, talk about FOL. I used to be in the Hubble Squads team as well for a few months, and it's a great team, FOL. It's a shame they shut down, but hopefully, like you said, they can open up and rename it because it was a great team back then.
Yeah, definitely so. And with of course, Ron there in the chat, I think since Ron Zeus has left, FRL Esports has lost all sorts of meaning. I think with him moving to Shazoo, of course, and he's gonna absolutely do me in the comment section for saying that. But still, you shouldn't have left FRL, and they probably wouldn't have closed down if that was the case. With Francesco leading the way from Gabriel in second, Killer there, NL there in third. Jordan's actually on his lap now, 52.5 in the middle sector. So the TGT man coming through the left-hander now of turn number 9, looking very consistent indeed on this lap. And look at how close actually everyone is currently. The 10 drivers that have set time so far are all separated by 4.5 tenths of a second. So that is very close around here in Abu Dhabi. Spain, of course, to come for sessions 2 and 3 as well. So you will get to see the other team, these teams here in session 3 in Spain, as now Jordan comes to the final corner on the run to the line, goes 7th ahead of Jackie with a 122 flat. Beautiful for symmetry, and the Mercedes there going 7th, and now it is 11 drivers within the top, within 4.5 tenths of each other. Very consistent laps being set. What there 3.5 tenths down through the first sector. Tedder was 5 thousandths up through the first sector. One of the quicker first sectors that we've seen so far tonight as well. But Francesco out on top for Juventus Racing. Gabriel there in second for NLR, and then Killer NL there in third for CPR. And it's so good to see all the teams as Teddo decides to, you know what, cut the chicane coming through 6 and 7. He's there down in 11th position, but it's still top 11, separated by 4.5 tenths as Hugo there goes third for WSC.
Yeah, Teddo there just went a bit too deep at turn number 6 then, which compromised his run into turn 7 then, so not the exit he would have wanted and just invalidated it. So 3 minutes and 30 seconds left to go on the clock is quite low on fuel, so he might have to dive back into pit lane to buy a brand new set of softs, depending if he's got that time or not. But Hugo there, I think he's down in the first sector or just finished his lap, so he's quite close, like you said, towards the top 3, all in the 121.7, so it's incredible around this 5.2 kilometer circuit to be all in close range of each other. That's just the skill of these drivers just showing up once again.
Yeah, it really is. And the Williams man now of Leroy coming out of the pit lane, along with the Shazoo man of Jensen, the absolute GOAT potentially of Team Shazoo. They're down in 5th position currently, 21.847 currently the average best for Team Shazoo. Of course, they've got Tom coming up in session 3. Saw him there in the chat. Hope you're doing well, Tom. And hopefully that McDonald's shifts are not going too well either in terms of that. At least you can actually try and get a lap time on the board here and take all your stress out on that lap, of course, in Spain a little bit later on. But Jensen there, currently in 5th position, has, of course, been a part of EML very much so since the beginning for Team Shazoo. Team Shazoo, of course, previous winners of EML as well, and they'll be looking to try and cement their own legacy, I think, here tonight, and also for the rest of the season with the 10 rounds that we've got, including EML's first ever visit to Qatar, and indeed to Las Vegas for the final round of the season. It is going to be very tough on these drivers, but the more tougher it gets, the better they will perform, and the more consistency they'll have throughout the season. As I think
they'll absolutely show their best.
Go on.
Yeah, they'll absolutely show their best in those type of circuits. Las Vegas, I'm not even done a lap around that circuit. I don't even want to either because it's not one of my circuits I like really. But we'll see how it goes then in Las Vegas. But very interested to see how all those drivers will go around. Qatar, it's not too bad, but obviously like with the lack of ERS you have as well during the race, it's all about strategy. As all the drivers then coming out the pit lane for the final flying lap, 1 minute 30 seconds left to go on the clock then. So let's see who can go on board with James.
Yeah, let's run on board with Jensen coming through the final corner of the Aston Martin, looking to try maybe even top the session here tonight. So we run on board with Jensen running down into the left-hander now. The turn number 1, just slightly off the apex there, slightly gets caught on the apex very nicely on the outside. Now through turn 2, then through the right-hander turn number 3. Jensen looking very good coming through turn number 3. Very controlled lap start of the lap so far. 600s down though in the first sector. Pretty much a shock there through the first sector split. Bit squirrely there coming out of turn number 5. but now all the way down this 1 kilometre straight in towards turn 6 and 7, of course, where famously it was Nico Hulkenberg that was famously hanging like a cow, I believe in 2018 around here, as Jensen now comes in toward the left-hander of turn number 6, and then through the right-hander of turn number 7. It's Francesco Largo from Gabriel from Hugo there, currently in the top 3. Jensen now on this lap time, though, in toward the left-hander of the final couple of corners in this middle sector, in towards turn number 9. His middle sector, 52.3, flat out, coming through that middle sector. Now through the left-hander turn number 9, there is a bump on the inside line, doesn't avoid it, avoids it very nicely indeed was Jensen, and now he's on this lap on towards the right-hander of turn number 12, and looking very, very good as he does so. Now through the left-hander of 13. This is where he invalidated on his previous lap, didn't invalidate that time around. Very good from Jensen coming through as we see Killer NL, I think, going 4th there. Hugo there in 3rd, just about to scrape a lap in as he comes across the line, but Jensen now on the run toward the final corner, on the run to the line, goes quickest out of everyone at 21.5, and that is how you set a benchmark time. Huge lap time from Jensen. Francesco Largo, though, was even quicker, 2.5 tenths up in the middle sector for Juventus Racing. Juventus now possibly going to the top of the timing sheets. Largo to the line, 21.3. Big lap time there from Largo. This is more like the top times that we are seeing. Gabriel there is invalidated. Killer NL is also invalid. Brandox is up in the first sector by 800ths of a second. He's getting a little bit of a slight toe as well from the Red Bull ahead. The Red Bull, I believe, is Gabriel just going out the way, but he's a 10.5 up in the middle sector, looking very, very good as he does so. Leroy as well on a lap coming in towards the middle sector there, but Brandox on a lap for ET8. ET8 looking to try and qualify once again here for EML. Of course, this is only lobby 1. We've got 3 more lobbies to come after this as the Alpine now flies to the left-hander of turn 14, looking very consistent, trying to go maybe ahead of Hugo, maybe ahead of Gabriel. That's what I'll be aiming for, to go 3rd as Brandox now through the final corner on the run toward the line, goes 3rd by 7,000ths of a second ahead of Gabriel. Leroy is invalid. Jordan DHL now on the run toward the line and puts himself up to 7th, 21.9. Good improvement there from the TGT man. Tedo as well is in backed up, and that, my friends, is the end of lobby 1. There's Francesco Largo for Juventus Racing out on top. Jensen there in 2nd for Team Shazoo, and Brandox there in 3rd for ETA. Very close qualifying session, Jamie.
Yeah, there was, and some people have validated on their last laps then, the pressure just sinking in at the very last moments. But Jensen there, what an incredible time, especially in the first sector, because I think he went a bit deep, missed the apex at turn 1, but still gained that time back in the middle on last sector then, so that didn't phase him at all. But Francesco Largo, what a lap time he puts in as well in that AlphaTauri to get it all together. But Gabriel, unfortunately, I saw him spin down at turn number 3, so maybe it took too much curb, lights the car up and went for a spin. So that was his lap time done and dusted. Couldn't go for a last one either. So, and also a few out there did validate their lap times on their last runs. So qualifying's done and dusted then, and it's a 21.3. That's an incredible lap time here. I didn't know what to expect coming into this lobby. I was expecting to be very quick times, around about 21 highs, but wow, these lap times are incredible.
Yeah, very quick lap times indeed. Francesco Largo out on top from Jensen there in 2nd, Brandox there in 3rd, Gabriel there in 4th. You mentioned his mistake late on in that lap, or early on in that lap, I should say. Hugo there in 5th, Killer NL there in 6th, Jordan DHL in 7th, Levo there in 8th, Jakku there in 9th, Rodas there in 10th, and then Tedo rounding off the top 11. And that is lobby 1 complete. We are not, as you can see, going into the race, so we are going to go for our intermission and take you through, of course, what happened there in lobby 1. Very close qualifying session there, Jamie, of course. Francesco out on top, Jensen there in 2nd. How does that now set the tone potentially for the rest of what we've got to come and the rest of the 3 lobbies that we've got, especially with the 9 new teams, of course, here in email doing battle in the next lobby?
Well, I hope all these drivers have put a lot of practice in to get that lap time, because a 21.3 around here is just incredible. But I want to see then all the other teams, how they progress into the qualifying session in Abu Dhabi as well. So we'll see how they manage to get on and see if they have the confidence to do it and not to sustain being under pressure by making a few mistakes now and then. I saw a few people on their laps make mistakes down at turn number 1, but they actually recovered it quite well. Unfortunately for Gabriel, who went for that spin. So yeah, let's see how the others get on. Will they be phased by those lap times? Will they just stay calm and composed? Because that's what you need in qualifying. Just need to stay calm and composed, go as fast as you can, and see what you can do. All that practice, all that hard work into those practice sessions needs to be converted into qualifying. But the difference is the pressure and the stakes are quite high when it comes to qualifying sessions, because you get everything to lose essentially, everything to gain. Whereas practice sessions, you just go at your own pace and just find the limits. But yeah, I want to see how all the guys get on, and I'm looking forward to it, James.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see, of course, how the drivers get on in Lobby 2, Lobby 3, and, of course, Lobby 4 to come up. We'll have a change in personnel as well in the commentary box for the next lobby. It is Mr. COL Freefall, otherwise known as Scott Dodd's, going to be joining me in the commentary box, and we are going to go on our intermission break while we get everything sorted in terms of the lobby. So we will be back as soon as the lights go green for the second qualifying session here in EML qualifying. So enjoy some music in the meantime, grab some popcorn, and we'll be back in about 5 or 10 minutes. And we are back for Lobby 2 here, and as you can see, there is a rogue one amongst us here in Lobby 2, because Marlon has managed to join in for Lobby 2, but it's myself, James, had taken to the stream. He's actually just left the session, which is good. I don't think he was meant to be invited for Lobby 2, but joining me in the comment jokes, though, is Mr. Scott Dodds, otherwise known as COL Freefall. Scott, how you doing?
Oh, absolutely brilliant, James. I've got to say, I'm so hyped to be in here. Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to this. I debut for me in EML for this qualifying session here tonight. Round Spain, kicking things off before, of course, we go back to Abu Dhabi later on in the evening. But I'm really looking forward to this, mate.
Yeah, it is going to be very, very interesting indeed. If it's anything to go by from Lobby 1, we are going to be very much in for an absolute treat in terms of the drivers here out on track as well. Taking you through, of course, the Lobby 2 grid. You can see them now out on track just preparing up for their first laps. But in no particular order of the order that they came in into the Discord, at least. It is Haribo in for RVL, so RVL Esports represented by Haribo for this lobby. LRN Esports are represented by LRN Thomas. He is there in the Williams. Outplayed racing in with OP Wiener, PSGL F1 driver. Looking forward to see how he gets on tonight. Team PGS, the home team, as I'm tempted to say, because I'm part of the team and I'm biased towards them in every single commentary that I do. PGS Paul is in for PGS for tonight for Lobby 2. Race Concept Racing in with Lorenzinho in for Session 2. Good name that, I've got to say. FBR Campeonato represented by FBR Zozo. So Zozo in, of course, there. And yes, he is. He's in the McLaren. Just double checking that. GL Ethan, part of the Legacy Division team for G League last night. He is in for Session 2 here tonight as well. Casper in for RDR, and then PSR, the big talking team, I think, coming into tonight. It is PSR Kian, who is going to be in for Paradox Sim Racing, of course, an Xbox team now transforming into console and also having their PC platform going as well. But Scott, first laps are now beginning. OP Wiener won on the first out on track there, and coming through turns 2 and 3, already looking very good in his lap.
Yeah, he's getting a solid start to this this first lap here around Spain. Of course, the new look Spain in recent years, a 21-4 for his first sector. That infamous, whether you love it or hate it, that chicane is now gone, replaced by a double right-hander at the end of the lap. And at the interesting to see how the drivers, of course, it's new to the game, it's new to EML. I'm sure the drivers have had plenty of experience and plenty of practice getting down some lap times in the lead up to this event tonight. We're on board. Well, I'm on board anyway with OP Wiener as he comes up through at the DRS, down the back straight, looking to run into this new look as well. This little reshaped part of the middle sector of the track, this hairpin into the uphill right-hander, of course. The long sweep right-hander off 12 before, like I previously said, the double right-hander to finish off this lap. 13, and then, of course, 14 Catalunya, the namesake of the track. Zorzo getting the first lap in with a 1:10.8, but bested by just over 1:10. It's OP Wiener taking the first professional pole of the night so far, James.
Yeah, but here comes Kian on a lap as well. 49.7 in the middle sector. Fastest out of everyone by about 0.2 of a second. So Kian now on the run to the line. And he is 0.2 quicker than everyone so far. Very good lap from the PSR man. Goes quickest. Wiener there in second. Zozo there in third. Apparently you need to up your mic a little bit in terms of the volume. You're getting told off there in the chat. Hopefully we can do that. It is an old pair of headphones he's got on mine, so that might not be possible. But Kian out on top from Wiener there in second. Zozo there in third. Very good lap times there so far, and Kian at the top end of the standings. I mean, I've followed him throughout PSGL, PSF1, throughout WOR Console Tier 1, throughout Legacy Division as well, as part of Talent Factory. He is one of the go-to guys if you want to qualify your team here in EML, and PSR delighted to have them in. Kian there, topping the timing sheets from Wiener in second, and it's almost deja vu to what was being seen, certainly from my perspective, in PSGL, PSF1 this season.
Yeah, cracking lap there to get us started. Hopefully that's a little bit better. I'll just maybe up the volume coming out of the mouth a little bit, but 1.4 tenths clear is Kian at this early stage. The gap's getting a little bit closer together, of course, as we go through to T2, 3, 4, 5, and all 9 of our drivers competing here are getting that first lap in. With only 9 tenths separating them on these initial banker laps here around Catalonia. It is, of course, a 4.6 kilometre track, 2.8 or 2.9 miles. Just give or take for those maybe a bit more inclined to that unit of measurement. And you know, a short track, James, there's very little room to find these differences. Ian has found enough dentures on his banker. What will run to show for us? We'll wait and see very shortly as all the cars bundle into the pit lanes, fresh set of soft tyres, and away we'll go again very shortly.
Yeah, definitely so. And Spain being one of the exceptions as well on the F1 calendar, where you can actually probably get multiple runs here in qualifying. You can normally get 2 or 3 on most tracks these days in Formula 1. This track, no exception though. You can get 4, apparently. Wiener is going to try and test the limits there, because he's already coming out for his second run on that fresh set of soft compound tyres. Of course, within the balance up they get for qualifying, they get 3 fresh set of soft compound tyres, and of course track limits not getting involved here whatsoever in terms of pit entry or pit exit, so they can actually cut the white line as opposed to real life EML in 2 weeks time. Wiener there though currently in second position, 1:10.724, actually now a PSF1 reserve for PSGL rather than a full-time driver. He has been on holiday quite a few weeks, so Wiener looking to try and bounce back to form, maybe with a suntan and everything, and he is looking to try and bounce back here in Spain, where the sun is shining, and that tan is going to be topped up, I think, in that Ferrari.
Oh, absolutely. We went from the moonlight of Abu Dhabi to the sunshine in Spain, and he'll be basking in that, warming up those tyres as he gets warmed up himself for this second run. Really, really, the pressure is going to start to build in these drivers now. They've had that banker in, they've got a time on the board. Now it's all about just extracting that last little bit, that using every little inch of the track they can, getting the throttle down just as early you can and blast out a beautiful qualifying lap here. We're now just about to start his second run of the evening here, James.
He is indeed. Let's ride on board then with the Austrian coming now through the right-hander of turn number 14. It's the other Austrian or German, one of the two, but Wiener on the run toward the line to start off his lap. A track that I'm very fond of course, Spain, because I finished 5th around here in the Sprint Racing League of Europe on Saturday night, and then ended up with 5 licence points for not recording my POV. But Wiener spins coming out of turn number 2, and that is something that you do not want to do around here. Got caught, I think, maybe on the outside curb. He just saw a little bit of a pick-up there through the left-hander, or on his left tyre. That picked up, I think, coming through the left-hander turn number 1. He rode the curb too much, therefore had no momentum basically going through the corner to try and correct any mistake. And Wiener there, unfortunate for him, he's there down in second. Let's run on board with the FVR man of Zolzo, formerly, I believe, of QRT back in the day as well, is Zolzo. Now finding himself in FVR at 21.4 in the first sector, 600s up through the first sector as well. So looking very consistent, the McLaren does, as he comes now down the hill in towards Sayat at turn number 5, and then in towards the chicane of 6 and 7, or 7 and 8 as it's now known on this track. Ian though out on top from Wiener in second, Zozo there in third. Everyone now on their second runs at various stages on the lap. Zozo is one of the furthest on at this moment in time, as he now comes through in a very flat 6th gear coming through there. I normally take a very low revving 7th through there, and Zozo 49.8 showing why you should go through 6th gear rather than go 7th through there, and certainly putting me, as he comes now down in towards Bank Sabadell, certainly putting me, I think, into the backwash with that, as Zozo now comes down the hill in towards turn 13, and then through the right-hander of turn number 14, Kian Wiener Zolzo. I think Zolzo might go quicker than Wiener here, though. On the run toward the line goes the McLaren, and he does. He goes second with a 1:10.686. Good lap time from Zolzo, and now puts himself in the mix. But Kian going quicker once again, 49.6 in the middle sector. He's responding.
Yeah, Kian putting in a solid lap here. He's just rounding these final 2 corners. We'll get a really good indication of exactly what this lap time's going to be. He's got just over a 10th delta now. What's it going to be after run 2? It's 2 tenths. He stretches that gap by 0.1 of a second, really reasserting himself right up at the top there. PGS Paul also crossing up the line shortly afterwards. A 1:10.756 for him. 300s of Wiener, and 3 tenths off the top at the moment, James. Lap 2's done. All the cars either in the pit or, I imagine, coming into the pit for lap number 3 very, very shortly. We're only halfway through this session, however, plenty of time to gain not just round the circuit, but to get those laps in.
Yeah, definitely. So Dan Collier apparently referencing you to smelling like beef there in the chat. Hopefully there's no beef coming through in the chat there from people. Goodness me, we don't want that. Keenan on top from Sosa in second. Wiener there in third. Paulie there in fourth for PGS. My team currently there sitting in fourth position, which is very good to see. But good performances actually being shown G League. I've got to be honest though with Ethan. 6th position, 111 point flat. They have excelled themselves in Legacy Division so far, picked up some very consistent results. In there in 6th position, I'm a little bit underwhelmed in terms of what they're doing in this qualifying session, because they've really shone on the PlayStation scene as Casper there retires. Is that out on track he's retired? Coming through the final corner. Is that in the pit lane? Casper has retired regardless. 111.4. Maybe it's a tactical thing to say, basically, I can't do any more. You've got to give me something in terms of a different setup, maybe for the next lobby, maybe for the next driver. But there, with Casper there in 9th, leaving the session, that's his lap time done. 111.4. Red Dragon Racing already, I think, cemented themselves potentially for F2.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate session for RDR there with Casper, whether it is, like you say, a technical issue or whether it is just saying, this is all I've got, boys. There's not much left in the tank. He will be a little bit disappointed with that 410 off. He's near a competitor of Thomas and a second as things stand off the top time. But we will have a chance again later on tonight in session number 4 to try and get the wheels back in the wagon, so to speak, and try and get a competitive lap time in there when we go to Abu Dhabi. LRN Thomas then looks to be the next up to get ready to set a fast lap. He's just coming through the tail end of the second sector, warming up the tyres, getting that ERS nice and ready and recharged to go on his pub flying run of the evening. A 1:11.047 for him. He doesn't need to find much, of course, to jump Haribo at the moment, or even at that matter for P6, but I think he'll have his eyes on a lap time a little bit higher up the rankings as he gets ready to start this third run, and he's just made me look like a complete an utter beginner because he's pulled right into the pits.
I was going to jump in and say he's run out of fuel, but I thought you could take the bait for that one. But Thomas there in 8th has came into the pit lane. He's run out of fuel. Was a 1:11 flat. Very good lap time from the LRN man there in 8th. GL Ethan now on the lap. The Frenchman coming in toward the left-hander of turn number 10 and looking very good, I've got to say, on this lap. 49.9 up there, but not as consistent as what we've seen from the top 3 teams potentially in qualifying tonight of PSR, FBR and OP. PGS also doing very well with Paulie. Recent signing, of course, to the team as Ethan now comes in toward the right-hander of turn 14 and looking very, very good as he does so. The GL man coming through the final corner on the run toward the line, and he goes 5th ahead of Lorenzinho. Very good lap time there from Ethan, but still a little bit underwhelming from their perspective. They've got a very consistent group of drivers of GL. Could come alive, I think, if they do qualify for F1, but already I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I've got to be honest. Even in my voice, you can probably tell. GL deserve to absolutely outperform themselves. They're not currently doing that, and they could be in trouble.
Yeah, they could be in trouble from the guys behind as well. Lorenzini currently on his flying lap. Only 5 thousandths up through the first sector, but he's just rounding up. We're going to get a little bit of more of an indication as he rounds up through the end of the second sector. It is going to be 300ths of an improvement. Not enough to jump up the rankings as things stand, but maybe a mighty fine third sector about to come in here for the Alfa Romeo as he rounds the second to last corner now on the final run to the line. He's going to get that rear wing open as early as he can, get that foot down as far as he can up to the line. Does improve of a 1:10.837, jumps ahead of GL Ethan and up into P5 for Lorenzini. I believe it is Ethan coming into the pits. I think Paul will be the next on a flying lap time, however, doesn't look to be improving too much. Ian, what can he do? Is he on a lap? Nope. I think he's made me look like a right mug once again coming into the pits here, James.
Yeah, Haribo, however, is on a lap, and he's looking tank-tastic, I've got to say, coming through turn 13, and then through the right-hand of turn number 14, but he, once again, has duped me into the pit lane, so it was looking sweet as sugar, but he's actually came in the pit lane and ends up more like one of them squashy hearts that you have in terms of a Haribo, and please do not at me in terms of the puns, because that was absolutely terrible. Keying out on top from Wiener there in 2nd, Zozel there in 3rd, Lorenzinho there is not on a lap, he's very low on ERS, and he's just nearly gone for spin as well, coming to the left-hander of turn number 10, so he's not on a lap. Wiener, however, was on a lap. He set a 1:10.557, however, invalidated, coming through turns 1 and 2, and he's 3/10 down, he'll be bailing back into the pit lane there as well. He's also low on fuel, but not many improvements in the second runs at least. Keying out on top, Wiener in 2nd, Zozel there in 3rd. The top 3 teams, arguably, I think, on PlayStation right now, PSR, OP, as Thomas goes for spin, just preparing up for his lap there, coming through the left-hand return number 4. Don't know how on earth he's done that. I might have to rewind in terms of the replay. Thomas there in 8th position, 1:11 flat. but he was going onto his lap and ended up spinning into the gravel coming out of turn number 4, which is not going to do the LON team very much so indeed. Jav there saying in the chat, does Marlon know he has to set a time? Marlon left the session, he's in lobby 3 and joined by accident, so that's why you've seen him at the bottom.
Yeah, Thomas, unfortunate little incident there for him, losing it on the exit of turn 4. I think he might actually have been on a flying lap, judging by DRS usage. So he will maybe just have enough time to quickly dive into the pit, get a fresh set of tyres on, or a quick fresh reset of the battery. We'll just wait and see if he is choosing to do that. Yes, he is. So Kian, our only one going to be out on a lap at this time. Our current pole sitter with a 1:10.487. He'll be desperate to try and improve that time because he knows he's got the likes of Wiener and Zorzo sitting pretty tight behind. Not much separating these top 3, as you've said. Very good performance from them so far, but with one last run to go, you just get the feeling that something incredible could just be about to happen. I wouldn't go anywhere anytime soon, folks. 2 minutes left in this session, and Kian is preparing for his final run, which could be a masterclass from the qualifying expert.
Yeah, it could be a masterclass as well from PSR. Of course, they've got Bradders to come in lobby 4, so that is going to be very interesting. The F1 Esports Challengers man and Pro Exhibition driver as well in Bradders to come for PSR. For Max, I should say. I'm seeing Bradders as a reserve. Bradders could be in lobby 4, he might not be. It's PSR Max, though, who are absolutely excelling themselves, Paradox Sim Racing, with that merge with Talent Factory, really creating themselves as the best team on PlayStation right now, and they're right on board with the man, the myth, the GOAT on the run down in towards the right-hander of turn number 1 here at Spain in the Red Bulls. Key now flies through turn 1, through the left-hander of turn number 2. We'll turn off the timing tower on the left-hand side just with this lap now progressing through as Key now comes through the right-hander of turn number 3 and then in towards the right-hander on the end of the first sector, and a 21.3 in the first sector, slightly down on what we've been seeing, 21.2s, 21.3s in the first sector for Kian, slightly down in the first sector. Middle sector is where you really now gain the time. Beautiful coming out of turn number 5 at Renault, now in towards 7 and 8 through the little chicane, and then through the right-hander of turn number 9, pretty much at the highest point of the track. In terms of the middle sector, at least, Kian a little bit off camber there coming through. Lose a bit of speed, lose a bit of time, I think. And Kian not looking good, I've got to say, on this lap. He knows it. He's 3/10 down through that middle sector. So Kian is going to bail potentially back in the pit lane with only, 30 seconds on the clock. He's got barely any ERS to go for another run. Very much a low fuel road. That is Kian done. And he'll be hoping that Wiener, Zozo and Paulie and the likes will not improve. As Paulie, speaking of which, 21.4 in the first sector is 1800s up.
Yeah, he's matching his time relatively speaking here as Paulie. Like you say, middle sector is where you really make or break this lap, as it looks to we have the Haas of Haribo having a spin on the exit of turn number 14. Has retired in the pit. That'll be his qualifying over a 1:10.4, the best he can do, but he's got danger from Wiener, Zorzo and Paulie. Paulie just coming up to the end of his second sector on what will be his final run. 5 thousandths down on his best time, but maybe an impressive final sector here can find a little bit of a difference here to pull this Alpine up into the top 3 and potentially challenge for pole position. Final corner now, all that's left for him as he rounds it, gets the foot down, gets that rear wing open and up to the line for the first of the final runs. And he does improve, but not by enough, James. A 1:10.695, 100 off of Zorzo, who's coming round the final part of the track, matching his time by the looks of things, as Lorenzi has got well out of the way for the final run. Zorzo up to the line then for his final run in the McLaren. Doesn't improve, 800s off his best time, James.
Yeah, he doesn't improve either. It does Wiener either. So Wiener into the pit lane, he doesn't improve. Lorenzino not improving there either as well. Thomas is the only one out there currently on the run as now the Williams comes through the final couple of corners, through on towards the line. He gets an invalidation. I knew that was going to be too much on the exit of the apex. Coming through the final corner, Thomas there in 8th position. So unfortunate. It could have been a very minimal improvement. It could have been ahead of Haribo, and that could have been potentially the gap between Premier 1 and Premier 2 as we move forward. But that isn't all done. It's Kian out on top. It's Wiener there in 2nd. Zozel there in 3rd at the end of Lobby 2. Lobby 3, of course, will be getting going very soon indeed. We're just waiting on Haribo to retire, which he has done. And then we can run through the full 9 drivers, with the exception of Marlon there at the bottom end. And it's Kian out on top from OP Wiener there in 2nd. Zozel there in 3rd. Paulie there in 4th with Lorenzino in 5th. Ethan there in 6th with Haribo in 7th. Tanktastic with that lap. Thomas there in 8th. Casper there in 9th, and then Marlon, of course, will be seen in Lobby 3. He was down there in 10th position, not sending a lap time on the ball, but he will be sending a lap time, of course, here in Spain, which is where we go to once again next for Lobby 3. So again, grab your chocolate, grab your popcorn, maybe grab a pint as well, because it is approaching that 0 hour, but we will get going once again in just a couple of minutes' time. So stay tuned, we'll be back with you very shortly. Welcome back, everyone, to Lobby 3 of EML Qualifying Night. We are running actually very early in terms of these lap times, in terms of setting up all the lobbies. Big thank you, of course, to Mr. Freefall and Mr. Indigo, who are doing the lobby invites, as well as saving my bacon in terms of actually speaking to you guys at home. Let me know in the comment section who you're supporting for Lobby 3. Of course, it is Spain. And once again, Jamie, we get to see... And by the way, Jamie is alongside me in the commentary box once again, if I forgot to say that. But we've got, once again, the 11 teams that we saw in Lobby 1 back here, but on a different track.
Yeah, Spain Grand Prix, Spanish Grand Prix, first introduced back in 1991. Had some great races here in Spain and some boring ones as well, but it's all about the cars really. Some tracks are really great for racing, but the modern day Formula One cars where it's really hard to follow, and all the DRS trains as well. But personally, I like this track. It's got a good flow, and they changed the part of the track at turn number 9 as well, where it used to be a heavy braking zone, and now it's just a sweepers left-hander section. They've also got rid of that chicane as well, where we take the MotoGP line now through that part of the track as well, where Logan Sargent, well, he actually crashed at the final corner, didn't he, Logan Sargent? But I don't think anybody struggled through that part of the track. It's just a flat-out right-hander, so we'll see then how these drivers get on with the 4.6 kilometer circuit around here and 14 turns, and we've got drivers then coming out the pit lane to start their first flying laps, James.
Yeah, definitely so, and I dare not curse the man that I'm going to go on board with because he's in your team. It's Mr. IRT Antonio, rather known as Tony, of course. The Williams there for IRT. By the way, in terms of the drivers that we've got for this, we've got Rastas in for WSC, Heinheider in for WR Esports, Antonio, which you can see, in for IRT. NLR have got Marlon in. He is here in the right lobby this time, which I'm glad to say. So he's in for NLR. ET8 in for Mateo, then we've got Michele in for LE, we've got Tom in for Team Kazoo, Igor in there for CPI, and then we've got Niels in for Juventus, we have got Sarbi in for X Esports, and then we've got Benjamin in for TGT, and that rounds up very nicely. But I'm going to give the commentary to you for this first lap. Let's run on board with Antonio, shall we?
Yeah, thank you for that, James. So as we're coming down this long straight, they've reached about 325 kilometers an hour as we hit the first braking zone. They're braking just before the first corner as we make our way now, a bit wide through the first corner. It's turn 2, so didn't really get a good rhythm or flow, but this is his first lap time then, so it's no worries whatsoever from Antonio. We're just getting used to the track and where the conditions are, where the grip is. Braking under the shadow at the 50-meter board into turn before we go. Bring it over to the left-hand side, and now coming over to the right-hand side, braking for turn number 5 we go. Hitting the 50-meter board, slight lock up into third gear, using all the track in the exit he can get away with now. And let's see how he comes through this part of the track through turn 8 and turn 9. Let's see, downshift to 4th gear. Don't really want to use too much of that curve there because the sausage curve can spin you off the track as we come into this right-hander with DRS enabled then. Not many opportunities for overtaking around here. You might see a few, but not a lot. Do tend to get the odd overtake now and then as we come through this left-hander, braking just before the 50-meter board hits the apex of the entry now, swooping through this right-hander. Don't want to touch the curb on the inside there because you will spin like turn number 6 at Hungary there. We're coming through flat out through the penultimate corner and now carrying through all that speed into this final corner we go. Into gear, slight lift off. DRS enabled then for Antonio. Let's see what the lap time is. It's 11.3. And I think we saw a 10.6 or 7 in this second session, so there's definitely a lot to improve on for Antonio, especially down at the first 2 corners.
Yeah, 110.487 it was for pole position in Lobby 2 as Niels gets close to that with a 110.9. The JL man going quickest once again, but Tom comes in with a 110.7. Who else but Tom at the top end of the standings? Sarbi there in second as well. X Esports going very well early on with Niels there in third. Heinheider there now promoted himself up to 4th. Marlon on the front line goes second, 110.867, so good lap there from him in the Red Bull. But the Aston Martin of Tom for Team Jazoo out on top. Mateo, specialist around here in Spain, won of course as part of the EML team for ET8 back in the day as well. As he now comes through the right-hander at turn number 14, does Mateo now on the run toward the line. He goes 5th position, got more time certainly in the final runs that I think he will have as the session goes on. Benjamin on the run toward the line as well, just missed him. He went 9th position with a 111.5. Big difference in terms of the lap times. I'm not expecting the times to be absolutely lightning quick, but it's Tom out on top, it's Marlon there in second, Sarbi there in third, and for Fabian there tuning in the chat, I've already mentioned it in the chat, but if you missed it, Zozo was second, of course, in the last lobby around here in Spain. It's second behind Keane by about a tenth of a second in the end. 700ths of a second actually separating Keane and Wiener in the end. Zolzel there in third, not in second, so I got that wrong. Wiener was second, Zolzel there in third. Zolzel was 2/10 off Keane off pole position, but a 1:10.686 for his lap time. But Tom, Marlon, Sabi in the top three. Not at all surprised by two of them. Sabi, definitely surprised with.
Yeah, Tom's one of those drivers that we've seen it in like a few weeks ago when we were commentating for EML earlier on in the Belgian Grand Prix. He's one of those drivers that can get that initial lap time very quickly, early doors in qualifying. Few people might take a bit of time to settle in and get the lap times done. They just want to see how the track is in the early conditions, where others, they just absolutely go for it, know where the limits are around this track. And what they do with the practice sessions, they immediately convert it into the qualifier session as well. It's just amazing how those drivers could just pull the lap times out there out of nowhere on their first runs then. So they're good banker already for those guys in the 10.7 and Sabi in P3 with a 10.9. So yeah, early lap times coming in, but the rest of them are in the 11s then. So those guys in the 11s would dearly love to get themselves in the 10s because that's where a majority of drivers were as well in the second session. So those drivers then need to improve immediately then to try and get themselves up there.
Yeah, definitely. So Antonio now the first man to go out once again for a second run, 1:11.317, his personal best at this moment in time. Of course, you're part of the team of IRT, Mr. Jamie Morris. Antonio there alongside him there in the Williams. How do you think he's going to cope with the trials and tribulations of Spain? And second of all, is he actually a good driver?
One, I don't think he will. And second, he's a very bad one. No, I'm kidding. Antonio, it depends really because he switched to wheel and I think he's running no line as well, no assist as well. So it's definitely like you just got to wait to see what Antonio does because he always just comes out there with surprise. So yeah, Antonio is one of those interesting drivers to watch out for because earlier on in this game he was off the pace a little bit, I dare say, but he's definitely come back on it now. I think he also had an injury on his leg as well, so hopefully he's all right. It's very important for the wheel as well, because in control it doesn't matter because you just use your hands, but on the wheel you need everything to be working well. But yeah, Antonio there, hopefully he does good because he's a really great driver and he was a championship fighter in another league as well, so let's see what he can do here tonight.
Yeah, let's definitely see what he can do here tonight. Indeed, coming to the right-hand return number 3, taking my line through there. Very rare line to be taken. You do actually gain time by using that, even though you do get pick up in towards the right-hand return number 4. And he's 600th up through the first sector, so maybe that's the new F1 Esports line that people are now going to steal from me coming through turn 4. As now Antonio comes through the left-hand return number 5, looking very nicely done indeed, but he has backed off with that mistake coming through turn number 4. Maybe the pressure of us riding on board with him has got to him there, down in 8th position. Neil's there just starting up on a run as well, and again opting to take the much thinner line coming through the right-hander return number 3, and a 21.4 in the first sector, backing up one Francesco Largo did of course in Abu Dhabi last time around, and that was of course in all the way back in lobby 1, which feels like an age away to be honest. But Tom out on top, Marlon there in second, Sabi there in third. Zozo making a comment there in the chat saying his .686 last time in lobby 2 was the best lap of the day, so that was a PB for him on the day, which was great to see. So Zozo definitely cooking there for FBR. Will Neil's cook with this lap time coming through the middle sector, 49.8 in the middle sector, 1.5 tenths up on what you're seeing. Remember, a 1:10.487 was the benchmark in lobby 2 from Kian, and that provides us with certainty in terms of comparisons with these guys here in lobby 3, which is good to see as Niels now comes through the final corner on the run to the line. Does he go quicker than Tom? He does. 1:10.712. Good lap from him. Tom a tenth down in the first sector, 21.5. Not the sort of lap time that we see from Tom. Looks like he's also backed off on his lap as well, but Marlon certainly hasn't backed off on his lap through the middle sector, 49.8. Passes everyone in the middle sector.
Yeah, a word on Tom. He came towards the first sector. He was a 10th down already, so I'm not quite sure if he made a mistake through turn 1 or turn 2. But then he oversteered coming out of turn number 4, so he lost him a budget time, and he might as well back out. Nobody can't improve then, so that's his lap time done and dusted. Marlon's coming towards the line. It's going to be a 10.6 then, as he takes it away by a few hundreds. So we're closer to the 10.4s in this qualifying session. Then the track will continue to ramp up. We'll see some more faster times, and Tom decides to dive in the pit lane because he only fueled the car for 1 lap as well. So not going for the second run as most people would fuel the car up. Matteo in the Alpine, I think he's just gone P5 with a 10.9, then just ahead of Igor there in P6 in the McLaren. Then so we're getting more people then started to get in the 10s, and I think Michael in Haas is 1 second down, so he will be going for a flying lap there. But yeah, I think some people then invalidating on their runs, and I think they'll be back in the pit lane very shortly, those guys.
Yeah, they will. I don't think anybody's actually on a second run at this stage. It is just under 9 minutes ago here in Lobby 3. If you're just tuning in right now, first of all, where have you been? Probably VSGL PCF1 if you're just coming from there. But if not, you are in for a right treat. There's myself, James Head, and Jamie Morris taking through the action for Lobby 3. Scott will be joining me once again for Lobby 4 in Abu Dhabi as Marlon has a huge snap of oversteer on his down lap here, coming to the right-hander of turn number turn number 12 at Bank Sabadell through 13 and 14 there. For Marlon out on top, Neil's there in second, Tom there in third. Just coming on to Sabi though, however, they're in 4th position. Fantastic job from him so far. Esports, very much an unknown team to everyone outside of TML and outside of EML. They have really delivered. Of course, they've had a change in ownership. I think Cameron's now in charge of Esports, if I'm not mistaken. They have signed Sabi, who I believe was formerly part of either ERT or IRT. You might be better off commenting on that. Was he formerly part of your team, or was he not?
I don't I don't really remember. So I think it's the other one you mentioned. So yeah, but yeah, Sabi then you say it's a new team and they signed him. He's doing really well in the Aston Martin with a 10.7. So delivering for his team and putting the spotlight on that team as well, which is great for their boosted performance then. So we've got some drivers then coming out of the pit lane with 7 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, such as Tom, Niels there, Michelle in P7 and the Alfa Romeo in P8. We've got more with both McLarens also heading out of the pit lane as well. So let's see what lap times they can set then with 7 minutes left to go on the clock.
Yeah, and let's run on board then with the Alfa Romeo of Hein Heider coming to the right-hander now of turn number 1, through the left-hander of turn number 2, of course representing WR Esports here tonight as well. Glad to have them in qualifying as well. They formerly participated in Legacy Division of Season 2, ended up towards the bottom end of the standings, but still produced very good performances in the races that they did participate in as well. He's 400s up through the first sector. He's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. That's one of the Alpines, I think, getting out of the way. And it puts him off completely. He comes out of turn number 5, and there's going to be a shake of the head and maybe a bang on the fist and the wheel there from Hein Heider there in 8th position. Very much unfortunate there. And it was, and I'm just trying to pick up on who that might have been. I think it was Matteo, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't. It was somebody else. Was it Sabi? Coming through the middle sector. It was somebody anyways. Oh no, it was Marlon even. It was Marlon coming through the middle sector. So Marlon there in the Red Bull, pretty much interfering there with, unfortunate for Hein Heider. Hein Heider there coming through turn number 12. I might be wrong with Marlon. I might just be blaming him. But Hein Heider ruined... It was Sabi. I thought it was an Alpine or an Aston Martin or some colour combination of car. But Hein Heider there, ruined in terms of his that. WA Esports are going to be absolutely furious with that.
Yeah, not ideal at all, as Sabi was on the outlap, not being aware of others behind him, and so he might pay the consequences later on. Unfortunate for him and Heidi there in P8. Heidi there looks like he was improving in the first sector, but we don't really know what his benchmark was anyways in the middle and last sector. Only completed about 6 turns off the track. Well, Antonio making his way through the final corner now. He was about 2 1/4 up in the middle sector. Let's see what lap time this is going to be. It's 11.1, so not anywhere, well, not close enough unfortunately for him in the 10s where majority of them are. But what have you seen, James?
Here comes Tom coming through the final couple of corners, looking lightning quick through that middle sector, on the run toward the line, a 1:10.5 and obliterates the times currently set by the rest. Tom out on top, Marlon there in second, but he, however, responds with a purple first sector. The German absolutely cooking here for NLR. Alex the G, very surprised he's not in the chat. I know he's going to make an appearance somehow, but Marlon there in second, doing a fantastic job. Sabi also on a lap at this stage as well. He's through the middle sector in the second down, so he's actually not there on a lap. Marlon, though, is, and the NLR man absolutely flying in this middle sector. 49.7 from Tom in the middle sector, 49.9 in the middle sector for Marlon. Where on earth has he lost the time from there? Maybe coming out of the chicane at 6 and 7, but Marlon already down, and he has a huge snap coming out of Bank Sabadell, turn number 12, and that is him done. Whatever setup that NLR gave him, I think it's the wrong one.
Yeah, it looks a bit oversteer, but I did see him, by the way, coming out of turn number 7. He went a bit deep, which compromised him into turn number 8. So I think that's the part of the track where he lost a lot of time, and obviously all avoided from there. So unfortunately for Marlon, left that purple first sector, as you said, but he's still got time in this qualifying session to do something about it and get that Red Bull further up and possibly on P1. But Benjamin there in the middle sector, what can he do? he is 1/10 down, so he's a few hundreds down in the first sector, but he just can't hook it up, can Benjamin, unfortunately, in that Mercedes then. So I don't know where he's losing the time, but he's still got 3 minutes and 45 seconds to try and get a good lap time. Well, I say good lap time, 11.4 is all right, but it's obviously in comparison to the rest of them where he needs to be.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just catching up on messages, by the way, from the previous lobby. Wiener saying GG to Kian and saying that the banker was impressive. If that was a banker lap, I'd love to see what he can do in a competitive racing environment. He could be a 110.2, 110.1 from Kian if that was only a banker lap. It was a brilliant banker if that was the case. But Tom out on top currently here with only about a 10, well, not even a 10th of a second to find actually on Kian. He can only improve, what, 400th of a second, and then he's quicker than him. So Kian out on top, sorry, not Kian out on top, Tom out on top, Molan in second, Niels there in third. In comparison to the lap times that were set in Lobby 2, Kian 110.487 was the best, Wiener second 110.557, and Zolzo in third at 110.686. So Tom, at this moment in time, is 1900ths of a second off the quickest lap time that has been set tonight in Kian. PSR, and that means one or two things. A, Team Shazoo are absolutely cooking, and B, PSR might need to up their game in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, indeed, mate. That's the next session in Abu Dhabi. We've had Spain and Abu Dhabi as the testers so far for this qualifying session. Then we've got the Haas run in the final corner then to start his lap time. I'm going to go on board with Heidi because he's headed down to turn number 1, now turn number 2. Hopefully he could continue where he left off in the first sector, where he improved as we head through turn number 3. It's so interesting to see how much lines they take, because some people like to hook the inside and stay there until they get to this corner. So he's a few hundreds up in this first sector there, so can he improve? This is the next part of the track where we got held up, and there's no Aston Martin to interfere with this one. Then as he heads down into turn number 6, then very decent exit there as he uses all the curb on the outside as we head into turn 7 and turn 8. Very nice through there as well. Hitting the apex really nice. They're coming through this flat out corner now in these Formula 1 day cars. Incredible how they can go flat out to that particular part of the track as we head down now into this left-hander, breaking before the 50-meter board. 1/10 up in that middle sector is Heidi there. So can he keep it in the track limits there and try and find more time in this last set to try and get inside the 10s? We'll find out. Oh, no, he can't. He's spun and hit the wall. But thankfully, he's not out of this qualifying session. But I don't know how much time there's left on the board due to the yellow flags being displayed on the circuit. But if there isn't any time, he can't save EOS or get the tyre temperature down because he's in the final sector. So he might have to dive into the pit lane. I think that's his qualifying potentially over. Depends how much time there is left on the board with the yellow flag. Oh, yeah, there's no time. That's his qualifying session done and dusted, unfortunately.
It is indeed. Machale, by the way, improved a 10th of a second as well in the Haas. Heider out of frustration, I'm sure. Now qualifying maybe WR into F2, I think, going forward. Heider there down at 9th position. He certainly can provide a better lap time than that. I have seen the best of him at his real best, and Heider there at 9th position, not doing him justice in terms of what he should be setting in terms of the lap time. Sabi just starting up on a lap, Niels just starting up on a lap as well. The GOAT of Andy Campbell has joined us now in the chat as well. Hope you're all doing well, Andy. It has been a very long time since you've been here in TML, and I actually took over from Andy in TML back in the day as well. And somehow I am still here. But there we are. Tom out on top, Molan in second, Niels there in third, and Sabi for RacingTV Esports, purple in the first sector, up by about 300ths of a second. So Sabi looking very good, I've got to say, in terms of the lap time. Sabi in fourth, the Aston Martin now coming through 6 and 7, and then into the right-hander now of turn number 9. You can forget about turn number 8 that I've just missed. Now through turn number 9, and then into the left-hander turn number 10. Session pretty much over and done with. Sabi in the middle sector. He is lightning quick. I don't know what they're serving them over in RacingTV Esports, but whatever he's on at the minute, I want a piece of it, because the Aston Martin in fourth is absolutely overperforming like anything. He's doing a fantastic job. Sabi now through 13, through the right-hand return number 14. This could even trouble Marlon, could even trouble Tom. On the run to the line, nearly does, goes second. Huge lap from Sabi, brilliant lap time from him. Marlon responding in the middle sector. He's going to be one of the last to come across the line. Igor's on a lap as well, a 10th up currently for his team. So Igor now in 6th position. Tom though goes quicker than Kian, crucially as well, with a 110.456. Good lap time from him. Igor now flying through the final corner in the McLaren. Slightly off camber the final corner, but Igor now on the run to the line. Goes 6th, improves 300ths of a second. Mateo, however, won't. Spins, coming out at turn number 12 at Bank Sabadell, which has got quite a few people out tonight. Niels in the pit lane. Marlon on the run to the line finds an improvement. It's a 110.623. Doesn't improve in terms of overall position, however. Tomad on top, Sarbi there in second, Marlon there in third, Tomad on top, expected, Marlon in third, expected, Sarbi way overperforming in the Aston Martin. Well done to X Esports, because that was phenomenal from them.
Yeah, it was indeed. I saw Jay O'Neill's validated in that middle sector, and unfortunately for him, Matteo spun coming out of turn number 12, so that was his lap time done and dusted. But what an incredible job there from Tom with a 10.4, and Sarbi as well in P2 to make it Aston Martin 1-2, but that doesn't really matter with the teams because it's an esports team. I can hear Antonio complaining in the party that he's not happy with his lap time whatsoever. He's complaining about the marvels, and that must be down at turn number 3 where you take that inside line heading into turn number 4. So unfortunately for him in PA in the Williams, and he won't be happy with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I heard a quiet reaction there in the background, and I'm assuming he is not happy at all with that lap time there down in P8. But it's Tomad on top from Sarbi there in second, Marlon there in third, from Niels in fourth, Matteo there in fifth, Igor there in sixth, with Michele there in seventh, Antonio in eighth, Heider in ninth. Again, he could have really performed up to a good standard tonight. Didn't in the end. Mistakes costing him. Russell's there in 10th, and then Benjamin down 11th position. WSC and TGT right down at the bottom end of the standings. For the final time tonight, we are going to go on a slight intermission break while we get Lobby 4 set up and everything. We should be back in a couple of minutes' time, but for now, you can have a word from our sponsors of Next Level Racing, who provide a load of our gear and provide, of course, our drivers with the winning capabilities, with Kieran Humphreys producing the goods last season, of course, as drivers champion in EML 22, and then finally getting his rig, which is very, very good to see. So we'll be back after this intermission break. We should be back with you in about 5 minutes or so. And as you can tell, we are back now here for the final lobby. It is Lobby 4 back in Abu Dhabi. And we have got Mr. Scott Dodds alongside me in the commentary box once again. And Scott, long time no see. I think it has been quite a while since we've been last in the commentary box. How on earth are you doing, and what did you make of Lobby 3, which saw the likes of Shazoo Tom top the session?
Yeah, I'm getting a vague sense of deja vu here, James. I think we've done this before, but another brilliant qualifying session, the third one of the night, living up to the hype we've seen from Lobby 1, Lobby 2. Some great times there from Shazoo Tom, putting it on the top position. It's all now eyes on Lobby 4. We're back under the stars of Abu Dhabi once again, finishing off, where we started off this evening, with 9 drivers ready to put in the best qualifying lap that they can.
Definitely so. Back underneath the floodlights, of course, here as well. Yarmo there saying in the chat, not Mr. Yarno Opmir himself, because he's been busy racing in a so-called PCF1 race for PSGL. And Gil has left the session. There is a possibility we can get Maxime in. If Maxime is available for G League, and if G League is in there as well, if they're in the chat, for example, please try and get Maxime on standby if he's available, if that is the case, because I don't want to see Gil leaving and rejoining, and then we've got to restart the session again, and then everyone's times get wiped off the board, which could potentially happen with these disconnects. It is the nature of the game at the end of the day, and what we've got, the hand that we're dealt, as George Morgan once said, I think, in PSGL. But we are here once again in Abu Dhabi, underneath the floodlights, and the 9 teams that are going to take part, of course, include G League, include PSR, and include OP in this lobby as well. And we can run down in terms of the grid who we've got for Lobby 4. And in terms of Lobby 4, we've got Teos in for RVL Esports. We've got LON Esports represented by Olav. We've got Luca in for Outplayed Racing. Lucas in for Team PGS. Go Lucas. King in for Race Concept Racing. Jeroen in for FBR. Very good to see him here. Should be very quick around here as well in Abu Dhabi. Gil in for G League. Hopefully Maxime can join if he is on standby, if that is the case. Posh Evans in, the Welshman in for Red Dragon Racing. And then, as I called him off-screen, the GOAT, PSR Max, is in for Paradox Sim Racing. And we saw, of course, around here in Lobby 2, which we covered together, the racing out on track was fantastic in terms of qualifying. PSR, of course, took the timing sheets with Kian. Are we expecting more of the same from Max here in Abu Dhabi?
You'd like to think Max he's got that whole time banner to carry on. We do know PSR, they are a very, very quick team. They'll be looking to try and match the times that we've seen in the first session, of course, a 21.360, the best qualifying time coming from Francesco Lago in that first lobby. He'll be looking to replicate up that. We've also got the likes of FVR Jeroen, one of the drivers I do actually know quite well in this lobby. I know he has got potential to put a good lap time. And another one, James, just while I noticed, we seem to have had that strange F1 glitch that we get this year, where the time of day is shifted from the lobby settings. It's changed it to sunset. I don't know how much of an impact that will have on this session here.
Oh, it's showing on midnight on my end, by the looks. It looks absolutely fine under the floodlights. It looks very strange indeed. Might be your end more than my end, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Theos, though, through the first sector. First man out on track for RVL, and he's a 17.3 in the first sector. Looking very good as he does so. Now coming out through the left-hander of turn number 5, running down the straight. The yellow flags in sector 3. Do not worry about that whatsoever. Just drivers preparing up for their runs. We could see potential illegal blocking penalties as well, which we didn't actually reference coming into qualifying night. Drivers might be getting within a short space of time, but luckily with only 9 drivers out on track, it shouldn't be too bad as Teos now comes through the left-hander of turn number 7, now down the pit straight, the old GP2 pit straight around here, into the left-hander of turn number 9, and Teos in the middle sector, 53 flat. Pretty much what you normally see on a set of used tyres around here on that set of softs. Of course, he's on a fresh set for his first lap, and LVL looking to try and qualify potentially with aspirations for F2 this season in EML on their debut season as well, as now they come through the left-hander of 13 and then through the left-hander of turn number 14, looking very good as he does so. Olav, Jeroen and Teos currently in the top 3, but Teos will be the first as long as he stays within the white stuff, coming through the right-hander now of turn number 16 on the run toward the line with Teos, and he can set it to 122.8 to start off the night. Very good laps indeed. Jeroen also on a lap 52.4, getting out there like Latifi did on the marbles in 2021. Didn't end up spinning and then causing possibly the most ridiculous, the most ridiculous end to championship that I've ever seen. But Jeroen scraps that and what I've said with the 21.9 and now puts everything back into perspective.
Yeah, solid lap there for you, but he gets outdone by Luca Carr, a 21.809, who then gets outdone by Pierre Carr Max, a 21.635. Posh Evans for RDR, a 22.7. RCR King, 44, his first lap, a 22.249. But a 21.6 already, James. That puts P3 in the first lobby we've got here. He could be right up in the mix with the likes of Jensen, and Francesco Lego, a 21.3 and a 21.598 respectively for the two of them. Max not far off that on his banker here.
Yeah, you're right. Francesco topped the timing sheets in Lobby 2 with a 21.360. Jensen with a 21.598. And Brandock's there in third for ET8 then with a 121.772. So we're already seeing lap times, I think, even quicker than what we saw in Lobby 2. So that is very good from the perspective of us in the commentary box, for you guys at home as well there in the chat. Let me know, of course, who you're supporting there in the chat as well. And Alex the G, probably getting sick of the sight of me, saying no way is this flipping James again. No way is this flipping Scott alongside me in the commentary box as well. I'm not sick of the sight of him because we've only done commentary twice together and both times have been tonight. But I've really enjoyed it, and I've got to say full credit to you. You're going to be, of course, in F2 this season as co-commentator alongside Leslie. How do you think that is going to compare, and who do you think you're expecting to be commentating on an F2 after tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be, obviously the times are going to be a little bit not quite up there the same, shall we say, but the racing nonetheless going to be ever bit so competitive. I think from what I've seen tonight, RDR look kind of strong contenders to be in that F2 instead of the F1. They had that unfortunate qualifying in Spain with Caspar Evans currently in P6. And I'll be completely honest, James, I'm a pretty, despite having a three-letter title at the start of my PSN name, I'm a pretty noob guy when it comes to the esports scene. My first sort of proper mix in here with EML, so happy to be here, I suppose, might be the sort of the cut and turn out. But nonetheless, regardless of who makes it F1, who makes it F2, the racing here will be electric week in, week out. And to join Leslie in that co-comms booth week in, week out as well, just about makes it almost as good as if I was in the position Jamie's in beside you, mate.
Yeah, definitely so, indeed. We'll have a look then at the G League man of Geel there in 9th position as well. Currently the only man does not set a lap time. He actually did stay within the session for his first run. He must have been validated somewhere on his lap. He's there in 9th position currently. G League have huge aspirations, I think, coming into EML, and their team manager, I believe, actually gave a little bit of context to the EML _F1 account on Twitter. If you haven't been seen in recent weeks, everything has been filtering through there in terms of what the managers expect coming into tonight. And I'm just going to share, actually, the thoughts there of the G League the G League manager, I should say, in terms of the season ahead, in terms of qualifying night in particular as well. I'll just try and see what they were saying. If you want reference for what I said, by the way, I said Season 5 is going to be one of the most competitive on the grid, and I'm looking forward to commentating on it all. There was something along the lines of that, and I still stand by that from tonight as well. And the G League manager, indeed, and I am still trying to find this until my heart's content. So if you find it before me, Scott, please butt in if you can. But I swear I saw something from G League. I obviously didn't, and I am imagining this and probably realising that, yeah, everything is not going to come to plan. Anyways, Geel's on his lap. He's a former F1 Esports Challengers man, if I'm not mistaken as well. One of their star signings for G League, and he's now on the run down into the left-hand turn number 6. Totally missed the first half of his lap, so totally missed what his first sector was. But G League now looking to try and get on the board with Geel on this run into the left-hander now, turn number 8, and down in towards the left-hander, the turn number 9. It's Max from Luca, Clark from Lucas, the top 3, the top 4 teams really up par. But Geel in the middle sector, 52.4 in the middle sector, not looking too shabby at all, the Frenchman, as he now comes through the right-hander in towards 11, then in toward the right-hander turn number 12. I think Geel, formerly part, of course, of FBR, formerly part of WR back in the day as well, as Geel now comes to the left-hander of turn 14, through the Yas Marina, with the Yas Marina Bay on the right-hand side, as he now comes through the right-hander 15, into the right-hander now, turn number 16. Giel now on the run to the line, foot to the floor, and he goes third with a good lap time, 21.9, puts himself up there with the top brass.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I can't find the quote either, but I'm sure the quote would be pretty happy along with a lap of that time. A 1:21.933. RBL Fios had a little invalidation through the first part of his second run. I've been watching RCR King 44. He's on for an improvement here as he comes through this final sector, in through the infamous, you mentioned it earlier on, the Latifi corner, as it's now been christened in F1 folklore. 15 and 16, all that's left. A double right-hand around this uniquely counterclockwise circuit. And what kind of time is it going to be for the RCR driver? It's P2 with a 21.739. 800s off that top time of Max as things stand.
Luca Kopp, though, was responding 2.5 tenths up in the middle sector and looking to try and go ahead of Max with his lap. Max was also up in the first sector when I last saw him. So Luca Kopp now through the final corner for Outplay Racing on the run to the line. He goes quickest, 21.6. Max, though, in the middle sector. How on earth can you compete with him? 2.5 tenths up in the middle sector from PSR. And Max now absolutely charging on this lap in towards turn 12. A little bit too deep. We'll lose a bit of time. But he doesn't care. He's going to be quickest out of everyone by an absolute country mile in this lap. Remember, Francesco Largo, 21.3. Jeroen now goes quickest. It's not going to be for long, though, because Max is absolutely charging on this lap through the final corner on the run to the line. And that mistake, in fact, put him second in the end, 21.5. Big lap time, though, for Max. And in the end, if it wasn't for that mistake, it would have been a 21.4, and he would have been out of reach.
6,000 separating our top two at the moment. James Giel has just had to pull out his lap time, but Posh Evans is carrying on the run in his final up to the line. Where can the sister McLaren, of course, different team, same team, and it is only a 22.409. He stays in P7 at the moment. I believe Olav is on a lap. I'm not quite sure how accurate that top delta is. It is 7.5 tenths up, and judging by the time of a 23.8, I could well and truly believe that there is plenty of time in this lap for the LRN driver as he comes through 13 and 14, underneath that bridged archway, and it is an invalidation for Olav coming through the tricky third sector. It must be said, it can be very easy just to push that car a little bit wide. Into the pits he goes and a fresh set of tyres light coming on. I don't know quite who else is on a lap. I think we'll mostly have cars funneling into the pits as we get towards the business end of this session here, James. 3 laps done for the majority of them, 2 or 3 laps anyway, shall I say, and really going to spice up now. This top 4 easily, a couple of tenths separating them. The top 2 separated by 6 thousandths. P3 just 900s further behind. It really is do or die time. The slightest mistake, like we've seen from Max, could really cost these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, one mistake will be so costly, I think, in terms of the whole grand scheme of things. We've seen with qualifying night already this season as well. In terms of tonight, we see mistakes time and time again, and it does cost drivers their laps. It could even cost drivers thousandths of a second, we're talking about, in terms of qualifying for F1 and being out and qualifying for F2 in the end. Of course, remember, all 20 teams participating tonight will get spaces in terms of this, but we'll see, of course, how everything will cope in terms of the racing. It is Jeroen Adam top, Max in second, Luca Kopp in third, but now Teos is on a lap once again. The RVL man coming through the the right-hand return number 3 in towards now the left-hand return number 5, and he's a 17.333 through the middle, through the first sector, even from Teos. That was my best Irish impression going on there. Didn't really pull off, but Teos now coming down the straight in toward the left-hand at turn number 6. But it's Jeroen from Max from Luca Kopp, the top 3, and Teos there, RVL, looking to try and cement themselves, I think, again for F2 this season. Behind Posh Evans, 4 tenths to find. He's going to look, I think, very good in the middle sector, but whether he can find that time might just be out of reach.
Yeah, there's, you know, it's like you say, it's not the biggest of gaps, but when you're at this level with these drivers, they are pushing for every thousandth of a second, every millimetre, every inch, and every tenth of a second, hundredth of a second, thousandth of a second. It all matters coming together. Giel is going to be starting potentially his final run of the evening. He could sneak another one in. 4 minutes and 40 seconds still on the clock as the Alpine driver in that car tonight anyway rounds through the first few turns and gets up to the end of his first sector. It is going to be a 17.135, 35 thousandths up on his best time there. now here as we round up onto this very long back straight. Well, the first of 2 back straights, it must be said, around this Abu Dhabi circuit, up to the tricky chicane of 6 and 7. Of course, the speed track along this part of the circuit, really where the drivers are going to get to that maximum top speed and really try and benefit in with that setup, balancing the setup between the tricky technical zones of sector 1 and 3 and the long straights off to Gil then up to the line for sector number 2. It is a 52.396. We saw that with Jeroen and the likes with their 21.9 first lap. He is marginally up on his time, so on course for a lap time of that kind of vicinity. Through 12 then, the right-hander, the double left-handers of 13, 14 up next before the double right-handers once again of 15, 16, keeping nice and neat within those white lines, keeping it valid, keeping it clean, and now about getting the throttle down as early as you dare, get that car straight and to the line. A 21.714 does improve by just over 2 tenths to put him into P4 as things stand. RCR King very close behind though, up just over 1 tenth at the end of the second sector. He's coming through the final sector, closely following Teos, who does actually dive into the pit. But what can King put in response to try and claim that P4 or maybe even higher here? Rounds the final corner, gets a little bit loose on the exit, but does take back P4, 200s of Lukacar off that P3 here, James. Really heating up with just under 3 minutes left in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm actually surprised that King managed to find that valid lap time on Gil. In the end, 800's clear of the G League man. G League man there in 5th position, obviously. Everyone's staying in the pit lane for now, including Jeroen, Max, Lukacar. No surprise, to be honest, that they're still in the pit lane. But we have got Lucas, Posh Evans and Teos there in the pit lane as well. And Lucas, for PGS there in 6th position, 21.9. Can set a quicker lap time than that, so hopefully we'll be able to cook with a one-shot lap, basically, at the end of this session. In terms of the standings, by the way, in terms of the overall standings, they are going to be X'd or Twittered, or whatever it is now called these days, as Olav now comes to the line, 22.6, ends himself with a good improvement in the end, nearly 0.3 of a second improvement there from Olav, but it will be tweeted out on Twitter, on X, whatever you like to call it, at EML_F1 is the Twitter handle, and I will try and get that up, of course, on one form of the graphics or another as the session goes on. King there just backing off on his lap. The first man I believe that is going to be on for his final run is the FER man of Jeroen, currently topping the session, 0.6 of a second clear of Max currently out on track. Lukacar only a 10th behind as well, but once again, like we saw with Lobby 2, Scott, Jeroen, Max, Lukacar, same 3 teams, same 3 positions pretty much, and they are just, well, I wouldn't say a class above the rest, but they've got a little bit of trouble in behind, certainly from King, certainly from Gil, and certainly potentially from other teams as well, like PGS.
Yeah, they've got their nose in front here, James, but not quite clear of the rest of the pack. They'll still be looking over that shoulder and just be sitting a little bit worried. RCR King with a very good lap in, just currently sitting in P4, 1200s off the top time. Gil, we know he can get a little bit more pace out of that, I'm sure, and then you can never discount anybody at this level, of course. Lucas, Evans, Teos and Olav will all be looking to improve if they can do so. But the big battle at the moment, you must say, you're looking between Jeroen and Max. They will be 2 of the first to get their lap times in, as Olav will not improve on that 22.614. He has said he retires in the pits for this evening. But Jeroen and Max going to be the 2, most likely, it must be said, duking it out for this pole position. Jeroen starting his final flying run here, just getting to the end of the first sector. It is a very marginal improvement, but it is an improvement nonetheless. 8,000 as he rounds the first hairpin, gets on the curb and almost loses the car there, James. DRS now wide open. It's a run down to the chicane for the FBR man to try and find some more time in this lap.
Yeah, but that, I think, is going to cost him in terms of his lap. That mistake can cost you all the way down the straight, about 2 tenths, maybe even 3 tenths of a second. You're on there slightly wide coming out of turn of a right as well, but he is looking very good on this lap. We'll see what his middle sector is like. Currently, he's topping the session, but maybe not for long, because Max and Lukacar are on laps. He's a 10.5 down, and that's what I've witnessed. With that straight, with that mistake, it can cost you time. It has cost you your own time. Doesn't seem to be improving, but is he going to do enough? Is he going to try and improve, though, in this final sector? As he now comes through the right-hander. Gil, by the way, out of the session as well. But again, another mistake from Jeroen. That is it. That is his lap time. Absolutely done for. Max is 100th down in the first sector. Lukacar's one of the furthest on as well, out of the top guys at this moment in time. Lukacar in the middle sector, 200ths down. Max in the middle sector, he's just coming to that middle sector split now, and he's 300ths down. So there's actually no improvements being found here. Jeroen might just be lucky enough to top the session here. Max and Luca they were going to be finding as Luca now comes through the final corners. Lucas in the end didn't improve. Porsche Evans, I think, is coming through the final corner as well on the run toward the line. He does improve, 22.409, but doesn't actually improve his position. As Luca now comes through the final corner for Outplay Racing on the run to the line. Goes quickest. How on earth has he found that through the final sector? Is Max going to do the same as well? Yes, he does. By 0.003 of a second, I think I make that out as Max topping the session with a 1:21.486, I believe that might have been. From the PSR man, we'll get confirmation in just a second. No, it wasn't. It was a 1:21.329. Nearly on par with Francesco Largo, I think, in terms of his lap time. Huge lap there for Max at the end, topping the session. PSR on top. Is that the sign of things to come in EML F1 this season? But Max out on top for Lobby 4. That is it for tonight, by the way. Luca Cott there in second, Jeroen in third, King there in fourth, with Gil there in fifth, Lucas there in sixth for PGS, then Porsche Evans in seventh for Red Dragon Racing, Tails there in eighth for RVL, then LRN Olav there in ninth position, knocking them valid lap time in towards the end of the session there. But Max out on top. I thought it was by 0.003 of a second. Instead, oh, it's only a 10.5 clear of everyone else.
Fine margins, just maybe not quite as fine as you first expected. And interesting, just to put that into comparison to the lobby we saw earlier on round here, that is the fastest time we've seen by 31,000, James. He just pipped out Francesco Lego, and the finest of margins. What could have been for Urin if it wasn't for that little mistake, we'll never know. Luca Kart with a stonker of a third sector there on that final run to pull the car into P2, and the rest of the grid coming in. That midfield battle not quite able to keep up with the top three in this session tonight, but that is it. Like you say, 4 sessions done tonight, 4 brilliant qualifying sessions, and personally for me, congratulations to all of the drivers. Some brilliant lap times being set here tonight.
Yeah, regardless of what team is going to be in what tier, do not let that go from your performances out on track tonight. Every single team, all 20 of you, deserve to be here in no matter what form. Fantastic, obviously, to witness, I think, and obviously congratulations to the likes of PSR, to the likes of Outplay Racing, who were going to get through, I think, quite frankly, into F1. They're going to be probably confirmed alongside the likes of NLR as well. But you will find out the full standings, just like I will do as well, when they'll publish a little bit later on Twitter, at EML_F1 on Twitter, if you do want to catch up in that as well. But that is it for tonight. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. We'll be scheduling our next stream, of course, for 2 weeks' time. And Scott, we can actually run through the calendar before we end off the stream. Of course, we go home to the British Grand Prix round 1 of the championship. And with Britain fast approaching in 2 weeks' time, going to be very, very interesting to see how the drivers cope. And more importantly, see if there's any clean driving there as well.
Yeah, I must say, it is a brilliant little calendar we've got coming up for this season. 10 rounds, of course, starting off, like you say, back home in Silverstone, ending in what will be an inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix. I can't wait for that one. A very tricky track, a very Marmite track, I think you almost might say. Some people seem to love it, some people seem to hate it, but regardless of how the drivers feel about the track, I know I'll be feeling absolutely excited, ready, and waiting to commentate week in, week out. James, it's going to be a brilliant season coming up. I can guarantee it.
It really is, of course. Silverstone being round 1 of the championship in 2 weeks' time. Of course, all races happening 8 PM UK time, so you'll have F1 and F2 both live at the same time. So it's going to be very, very good to see. And hopefully you can get behind your support for whatever team you are supporting. You might not be a fan of anybody. You might just be here just for the sake of it and just joining in all the fun. And I promise you, this season, EML promises to be the best season on paper, on the calendar. We've seen some of the best drivers out there already with Max and Kian, and the likes of the Shazoo boys and Tom and Jensen Racing for qualifying. God knows what they're going to field in terms of their teams, but it's going to be highly exciting. Of course, Britain for round 1, then it's Australia, Japan, Belgium, and then the first visit to Qatar for round 5. Then we've got a break week sandwich right in between the middle of the season, and then it's Austria, Zandvoort, Brazil, Emilia-Romagna, and Jav there saying in the chat Las Vegas very stinky, apparently, in terms of a finale. His words, not mine. Las Vegas, I think, is very good. I've actually driven around there, well, kind of driven around there in a social race that I did for League of Europe. Ended up getting disqualified because we had the start line glitch around there, which was not great whatsoever. And Las Vegas, round 10, definitely going to test the drivers to their limits. And Jav saying in the chat that he wants to swap it for the Singapore layout, or there will be a riot on their hands. So maybe we'll have to stick with Singapore and the new layout. Even though, I'll be honest, I think Las Vegas is better than Singapore. I've driven Singapore, and I personally think it's not really a good track with the new layout. I think it takes away that technicality. It takes away what made Singapore what it was, and that was very, very much testing track, and that's been taken away, of course, with the roadworks and everything that's going on in real life, shortening the corners down, of course, to 18, I believe, now in Singapore. But Britain, Australia, Japan, first 3 rounds of the championship. Can't wait for it. We are going to end off the stream here because we're just waffling on as always. Thank you so much to Mr. Jamie Morris and to Mr. Scott Dodds for joining me in the commentary box at various stages of the evening. Always a pleasure, and hopefully we get to see some great racing out on track in F1 and in F2 for EML this season. And indeed, you'll be seeing TML on the same week as well. That's starting off on the Thursday, so the day after. This calendar, very much the same, just different. And it's ending off, of course, on the 23rd of November with that Las Vegas finale, so you can get signed up for TML if you do want to join in, if you are in the server as well. But we're going to end off here. Thank you so much for watching. A last word, of course, from our sponsors, Next Level Racing. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.